Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the top series that I'm most excited to start. This is a very unhealthy topic for me to be looking into because of how fastidiously I've been trying to focus on getting all of my incomplete series wrapped up. So yeah, nothing like just teasing myself with the possibilities of all the books that I want to read next. Everything on this list is a mostly completed series. There are a whole bunch of new releases within this year alone that I'd like to get to that start series. I'm not going to include those. I'm just going to focus on the ones where most of the books are out in the series or it's far enough along that I feel okay starting it. And first up, I'm not going to spend too much time on these, but the BookTube darlings that I haven't gotten around to reading yet. We've got Empire of Silence of the Sun Eater series by Christopher Ruocchio, Jade City by Fonda Lee, and Grace of Kings Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. All three of these I've just been itching to start because everywhere you look people are talking about them and raving about them, and I want to see what all the hype is about. So very interested in these. We'll probably get around to them within the next couple of years. But yeah, you're probably so sick of hearing about them. That's pretty much all we're going to talk about of those today. Next up, the Inda series by Sherwood Smith. I've had this series on my TBR for like 20 years. And within the last 5 years or so, a couple of friends on my Fantasy Buddy Reads group read the series. I'm pretty sure I had a hand in helping set it up, but then flaked out on the actual read because I had too many things going on. Story of my life when it comes to Buddy Reads. But anyway, they read this, and a few people who I really resonate with their opinions absolutely loved it. Now it's some of their all-time favorite series. I hear it's very character heavy, tons of characters to follow, kind of a dense read, but also one of the most rewarding stories. There was originally just 4 books, but within the last 2 or 3 years, she came out with a 5th book. So I'm not sure if the series is completed, but I most definitely want to get around to this one sooner than later. I think what's been holding me up is there's not an audio version, and I am so far behind, so inundated with physical reads that I just haven't, I can't commit to a handful of 600-page books. I just don't have that kind of time. Well, hopefully I'm going to make that kind of time because I think this one will be worth it. Next up, Gardens of Stone by Barnes. I've had the audio version of this one and the ebook version for such a long time now. I even started it at one point, but it was one of those ones that took a lot of concentration right out of the gate, trying to keep track of all the new names and places, and I just didn't have the mental energy to give to it. See, this is why I have worked really hard at reducing myself down to just 1 or 2 books going at a time, because if I have way too many going, I don't have the faculties to concentrate on yet another thing if I have that many going. But anyway, the cover, the premise, everything about this story has just been screaming to me for years, and so finally, I think within the next year or so, I'd like to actually pick it up and read it. The next one, I found out about this one just from seeing it on people's bookshelves, We Ride the Storm by Devin Madsen. This one has a lot of cover appeal, but something about it is very intriguing to me. I don't even know what it's about, really. I don't tend to read descriptions of books, which is a really weird thing, but I know I want to read it anyway. I just have this sense about things. Anyway, as far as I know, there are 3 books out in this series. I don't know if it's a completed trilogy or if it's going to be extended beyond, but it's one that has slowly crept up the priority list over the last year or so. Transformation by Carol Berg. I've mentioned this one a couple of times. I have a whole bunch of books by this author, but I've never read anything by her. And then someone commented how the writing style was really close to Robin Hobb, and so I really enjoy this one. So ever since then, it's been very quickly creeping up my priority shelf and getting close to the front. I'm really hoping to pick it up soon. It's a completed trilogy, I believe, and it happens to come in a very satisfying, compact little reading format, so can't wait to get around to this one. Sound like a broken record before this is done. The Wolf by Karu. I heard about this one on Leanna's Library. She did a top 10 all-time favorite fantasy series, and I had read 7 of the 10 series that she had mentioned. And the way she talked about this book made me think it was a match made in heaven for me. Fewer fantasy components, but more of kind of like an anthropological study, and I love stuff like that. So yeah, on her very high endorsement of it, I am looking forward to diving into that one. Devlin's Luck, first book in the Sword of Change series by Patricia Bray. I've not read this author before. This book, in fact, the whole trilogy has been sitting unread on my shelves collecting dust for a really long time. And I don't know really anything about it, but it really looks very appealing based on cover. And at one point I made a list on Goodreads of all of my high priority owned books, and you can sort on Goodreads by rating, and I did a sort by rating, and this one always comes up kind of near the top as far as like what other people thought of it. Yeah, I think this will be a fun backlist one to explore. Semiosis by Sue Burke. This is a science fiction. I believe it's a duology. And having just finished Tchaikovsky's Children of Time and really loved all the biological elements of that, having loved Julie Chernita, one of my all-time favorite sci-fi authors who was a biologist by trade before becoming a writer and infuses a lot of really cool creature creation, that's what I'm craving. That's the kind of sci-fi that's really driving my interest right now. And so Semiosis is one that I've passed over the years and finally want to dive into. I've heard mixed reviews, so someone's like, oh, it's not that good, so I bump it down the priority list, and then someone says, oh, actually I really like that one, so I bumped it back up. Now I don't care what people think, I'm just going to read it. Yes, really looking forward to that one. I'm hoping it'll satisfy the craving that I have. Valor's Choice by Tanya Huff. I think it's the Confederation series. I've had the first book on audio for a really long time. This type of lighthearted, fun, creature creation sci-fi, one of my favorite things to read. I love the Sarantha Jack series. I love all the Julie Chernita stuff. There's just a couple of authors that have really fit the bill with this type of story for me. And I'm projecting here. I'm just assuming this is going to be along those same lines. But yeah, I've been really interested in getting into this one for a while. I think at the moment it's like 6 or 7 books, and then there's a spin-off series beyond that, but don't quote me on that. This is kind of an obscure one. Unlit by Carrie Arthur. Carrie Arthur is a paranormal romance writer, typically. She has some urban fantasy. She has some futuristic urban fantasy, which is actually my preference of her writing. Her City of Light series was one of my favorite things I read the year I read it. I completely devoured the entire trilogy. You know it's good when I immediately pick up the next one, because I don't do that very often. But anyway, her stuff is so hit or miss, but the misses for me tend to be the more lighthearted, just strict paranormal romances. I liked her Riley Jensen, couldn't stand her Dark Angel, tried a couple of the other ones that were a little bit older and didn't like them at all. But this one, this is a newer one. It's like post-apocalyptic, in line with some of my favorite stuff from her. So based on author loyalty and the fact that I've been kind of craving something like that, I'm hoping that one will be a good pick. Pandora's Star by Peter Hamilton. I am finding myself in this weird state of having finished The Expanse and a couple of other ongoing sci-fi series, and I really am craving that next really good space opera. And a handful of really trusted reading friends have read this and absolutely loved it, so it has bumped itself up my priority list considerably. I think the only reason I haven't dived into it yet is because it's a massive book, and it's one of those where the story doesn't end in the first book. You have to read both books in one to really get the complete picture. So, you know, signing up for like a 1,000-page read sounds like fun at some point, but I'm working too hard on getting my outstanding series done first, and then I'd like to dive into that one. And last but not least, I would like to read anything by Jennifer Fallon. I have so many books. I have the Seventh Son series. I've actually read the first book, really enjoyed it. I read it around the time I read Abercrombie's Blade itself, and while Abercrombie is now one of my all-time favorite authors, that first book didn't really sell me on him. I actually liked this one better than I like the blade itself. I know what I just said. It's weird to me too. They had very similar story components, but there was more of an overarching plot. So if you've had a complaint about that aspect of Abercrombie's writing, then this series might be a good shot for you. But anyway, I never continued. I got too busy. So I'd like to finish that one. Gonna have to reread the first book. Then I have 2 books in the Tide Lords Quartet. No idea what it's about, but I know I like the author, so I want to read it. Oh look, a 3rd one. Cool. I don't go through my stuff enough. And then I also, many years ago, the book that got me introduced to this author, Medallion, the Hyruthian Chronicles. Hythran Chronicles. I read this initial trilogy and then picked up the continuation Wolfblade trilogy, but never made time for it. I thought, oh, I like those so much, I'm going to save them for a rainy day. And now it has been so many years, like 20 years, that I'm going to have to go back and reread the first trilogy before continuing. Because other than the character's name, I don't remember anything about the story. Lots and lots of awesome things from this author, books that I already own, which is a plus. And that wraps it up. Like I said, this is a really weird thing for me to be filming, considering how hard I'm trying to focus on incomplete series. But hey, you know, every goal should have some sort of reward at the end, and all of these series, all of these potential amazing reads are kind of what I'm rewarding all these efforts of zeroing out other series for. All of these also make great nominations for book club, because that's kind of where I get my starting a new series kick. So yeah, patrons, if you see anything you like in here, let me know. I would love to know what series you've been looking forward to starting, anything that's really caught your attention that you've been kind of saving for a rainy day. I'm trying really hard with my newfound reading perspectives to not save things, to just read the best books first. It's been a mantra that I've had for, 5 years now, but I am only just now really starting to appreciate what that means for my reading habits. Don't save the books. You might not have a chance to read them all, so read the best ones first. So I am working my way through my incomplete series, all the ones that I deem really high priority that I'm loving, and then I'm hoping to explore many of these. I was playing Beat the Clock with my camera because I knew the battery was about to die, and instead of wrapping up the video, I decided to keep yakking about Goodreads lists. Anyway, camera's charged again. I hope you all have a great day, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye.